sound okay? The street, or should I close this one maybe?
Yeah, maybe close this one. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Definitely nervous. And thinking about my parents. You know, this is not something the good girl that I was raised to be would necessarily be doing. Even though I'm a 42-year-old woman, I'm still afraid of disappointing my parents. My mom was here visiting one of the weeks that I had a class leading up to this event, and I was nervous about telling her I was even taking the class, let alone doing this performance. And but as I was leaving for the class, she was like, okay, let it all out, let it all out.
Is she gonna be at the performance tonight?
No.
Are you not ready for that?
Yeah, I'm not ready for my parents to be in the audience. Maybe someday. It's been like 5 years of trying to figure out a way of expressing this story, and this feels like the first time I'm really putting myself out there.
Are we ready for our second storyteller? Yes. Please give this person a lot of love. Keep applauding them till they come up to the mic. Please give it up for Cara Jones. Cara.
So it's my wedding day. I was standing in the Seoul Olympic Stadium in Korea, clenching the hand of a man that I had met just a month before and was about to marry. My marriage was arranged by a man named Reverend Moon, who is the founder of the Unification Church, a group otherwise known as the Moonies that I was raised in. Reverend Moon is standing there asking, do you promise to love God and humanity and each other? And I shout back louder than anyone else around me the Korean word for yes, which is nay. I shout back so loud my voice cracks 3 times, nay, nay, nay. This was my path. This was the path walked by my parents and my brother and my best friends. And it worked for them. It had to work for me.
I thought I left church the day that I got divorced. But I would spend more than a decade living with this really deep-seated belief that if I really moved on with my life and married outside the church, that I would lose the 2 people that I loved the most, my parents. People often ask me, how did you break out of that cult? To me, the church never felt like a cult. It was just an extension of my family. And how do you walk away from family?
그리고 존경하는 세계 대표 여러분, 저희는 오늘 미국은 하나님의 소망이 되는 주제로 말씀하고자 합니다. Distinguished citizens of the United States, I would like to speak to you tonight on the subject, God's hope for America. 땀을 여기 돌아갑시다. 하늘조의 사상으로 돌아갑시다. America must return to of Godism and absolutely God-centered ideology.
Is that right? Okay. Okay. So I think I'm ready. I don't like needles. So you'd grab this. And then just push it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Whew. Didn't hurt as much as I thought. These are all my baby making medications. Came in this giant box here. These are various hormones that I'll be injecting myself with for the next 10 days. I'm kind of nervous about the medications and getting them right, and I'm a little bit sad because I never envisioned doing this by myself. I feel conflicted about what I'm doing. This is not what I was raised to believe family looks like. So far, when it comes to finding a partner and dating, like, it hasn't worked out. And so there's this question of, like, is this effort gonna be cursed too? There's something from the past that I haven't resolved. I feel like in some ways I don't completely understand what happened to my family. Maybe I need to figure that out before I can have one of my own. I feel like I did this wrong.
Go ahead, I got that.
I just wanted you guys to share a little bit about, I feel like I'm leading a prayer meeting. So, yeah, what was it like? What do you guys remember about growing up?
Okay, are we on record now? Mm-hmm. Hello, Maddie and all the children in Korea. We are in our home, the Joneses' home, and in a few minutes we're going to introduce you to our other family members.
Well, I think the children are ready to show you different things about what they got for Christmas and just to share with you a little bit, so I'll let them say whatever they would like to say.
Yesterday, Daddy and I went skiing, which I haven't done for about a year, and I had a good time.
Introducing the awesome band. Boom, boom, boom. And then it goes shortly. Then see?
No, don't bring too close. And there's Bo. Hi, Bo.
Hi. As you can see, this is my bed, and this is a book that I got for Christmas. It has all my awesome drawing.
Go.
Hi, I'm in pre-K, and I learned how to go back and forth when I'm going skiing, and,
Don't shoot that far.
I bet to do is your turn.
Anything else to talk about right now? Has your basketball team won?
If you looked at it from the surface, we were a family, 2 parents that loved each other, and we had a nice life. We went to a nice Catholic school and played sports and piano. We had a dog.
I remember a lot of love It was like the wonder years. We were the perfect family. Everyone's doing well in school. There's no talking back to mom and dad. They killed us with kindness, and they loved us to death, and you could never get angry at Dad. Mr. Buddha walking around among us.
We were these special, chosen people, ideal family. We had something that all these other people that didn't have.
Yeah, like this chosen tribe that's gonna save the world, but we're so close with each other.
Thank you. Welcome to the second weekly Sunday family night here at the Jones household.
We did these family, kid-driven prayer meetings.
Why would God, a God of love, leave something that's so tempting and so deadly to his children?
We would open up on an extremely intimate, deep level on a nightly basis with like crying and hugging and supporting each other.
Cara Jones is here!
Cara at that time was like super churchy.
So I pray that you can truly be with us, Father, that we can truly create a unity here, Father. And become
You were like the model citizen that we were supposed to be.
And you would always sit kneeling.
That was the gold standard. Like, the more Korean you could be and kneel, the holier and better you were.
How do you feel about mom and dad still being involved?
I personally would like to see them just make that final walk away and just say, it's okay.
I mean, it's just such a complex picture. Like, the good and the bad are both real. 20 years after leaving, trying to make sense of it. And not just with the church, but with the impact on our family and me and mom and dad.
Your husband makes a smoothie every day, hands it to you. This is a marriage made in heaven.
I joined the church in 1967, and I came to the conviction this was what I was meant to do with my life.
I was a good Catholic at the time. The last thing I wanted to do was join another religion. The people were younger than I was. And they were all so different. I thought, what could have brought all these people together? I had wanted to do something for God, and I thought, oh my gosh, this must be what it is.
My parents first met years before they joined the church. They were working at this New Jersey resort where my dad started dating one of my mom's best friends. Dad was then a proud atheist on summer break from Princeton. Mom was a devout Catholic from Boston College. A few years later, they'd meet again at a New York City bookstore.
I was looking in the section of philosophical religious books, and this young man was standing there with granny glasses and sideburns, and I said, "Aren't you Farley Jones?" And he said, "Yeah," and he wanted to tell me about some new religious thought he had heard from a man named Mr. Moon in Korea.
When I heard the church teachings, the notion of God being present in the love between a husband and wife, I thought, this offers me something. I saw it as a way forward.
I mean, was there any sense of like attraction between you? Did you have a crush on each other?
No, not at all. Not then. It was just purely missionary kind of focus.
Mom, did you have a crush on Dad?
Well, after he had studied this teaching, I felt like he had a whole new spiritual thrust to his life. I found that attractive. At some point, it was probably more than that, like a strong wish. If this could happen, I would make this marriage a dedicated marriage to God's purposes.
Yeah, I'd say that's a crush.
So we never dated, and never expressed any interest to each other. But then, to jump ahead, there came a time when, in essence, we were matched together. What we might describe as a match made in heaven.
In 1970, they were married in a mass wedding.
We were all measured for Korean chimichurris, and our feet were a little bigger than Korean women, so they got us men's rubber shoes. So we're coming down the aisle, 77 brides and grooms from 30 different countries. I felt it in my bones that this group of couples would bring peace between different nationalities.
After 2 years, I was invited to serve as the church president, which I was completely unprepared for, but that's the role I was asked to accept and which I accepted. Vietnam was still the major issue when the church started becoming known.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Nixon was a major issue. There was a great sense of anticipation about the world changing and kingdom of God emerging.
In the 70s, it grew because it was a very idealistic generation searching for something. And it was just early post-hippie, so to speak, where we found out all the things that probably we did wrong, and we were reflecting, where do you want to go? And it was still a relatively kind of spiritual era in America.
The movement provided a way to have real interaction with people from all over the world that, in a way, took the rest of society 20 or 30 years to catch up with. We were early adopters with the idea of being one family under God. And certainly there was no evidence of racism or any kind of discrimination.
Reverend Sun Myung Moon. He came, a foreigner, to give hope to the people of America.
The church grew exponentially when Reverend Moon came to the U.S.
Unification Church claims millions of followers worldwide. Moon claimed Jesus Christ personally called on him to continue his work of building a unified, multicultural world.
He preaches against drinking, drugs, and promiscuous sex.
The Reverend Sun Myung Moon, God's hope for America.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Moon is regarded as a messiah. There are, by my researches, 27 working messiahs roaming the world right now. Are the other 26 messiahs fakes?
얘기한 적이 한 번도 없다고 아마 이 양반은 연결을 통해서 세례한 사명에서 메시아 있다는 말을 증거한 거네라가.
He never said he claimed himself he is the Messiah. Maybe you probably received spiritually.
But out of him shines the most enormous good nature. I tell you, if this is the Messiah, I want him something like this.
Bring the nations together under one God, under one sort of working relationship for all mankind, I believe it's good.
The Reverend Sun Myung Moon. This is a place of commitment. This is the moment of decision. If you are willing to give your sweat, your blood, and your very lives to the call of God.
없지? 그런 생각.
So we have to think.
자, 여기서 내가 단기간에
When I joined the Unification Church, I was really looking for a larger experience than just my little nuclear family.
Every time mind accused.
It was a moral commune, which was very unusual for the times that I was living in. There's a strict celibacy. We were learning how to be brothers and sisters to people who didn't even speak my language. And I thought, this is training for a unified family. It's training me how to love anybody.
And it was the first time we're in this Coliseum, just like oceans of people. And there was Reverend Moon. He was just in his element, talking about love and just like being explosive. I looked up at Reverend Moon at that moment and I said, he's the one.
I think the reason we call them true mother and true father is that they were supposed to be the parents that Adam and Eve never became because of the fall of man in the Garden of Eden. And so this was finally the true Adam and Eve coming. It means without sin. After I joined the church, I felt like a 4-year-old again. You know, very pure and innocent. It was a very beautiful experience. Who is this man? And my conclusion at that time was that this must be the second coming of Christ.
A brief synopsis of Unification Church theology. Adam and Eve ate the fruit, meaning they had sex before they were supposed to, resulting in the fall of man. Jesus couldn't fulfill his mission to bring humankind back to God because he was crucified. So Reverend Moon was sent as a Messiah, the second coming, to restore humanity back to God. He and his wife were called true parents, and his family was called the first true family. He held these marriage ceremonies called the blessing, and the children born out of them were called blessed children, born without original sin.
Reverend Moon arranged the marriages of other people, and because of his particular unique spiritual insight, which I've experienced his insight into people's character. And also because of his spiritual role, for the members who joined the church early on, Reverend Moon suggested their marriages. As the movement grew, it became a larger and more en masse thing. Our movement has emphasized marrying beyond race, beyond religious tradition, Muslim and Jew, or black and white. Our whole idea of the blessing is also healing for the world.
Coming from Japan, and then married to American, was the first Japanese-American couple in our church. There was no question in our mind, you know. We just all believed in it.
My brothers and I were raised among other church families who were going to change the world. And every summer, we went to church camp, run by Mom and Dad.
You can have that kind of heart, then you will make Heavenly Father so happy, and true parents so happy, and your own parents so proud of you.
We are all a part of God's great big family, and the truth.
I grew up with an amazing community of friends, or having the same experience and kind of being committed to the same values. We were kind of the creme de la creme of the non-Korean families. We definitely got preferential treatment. We were probably the most known church family in the Unification Church in the United States.
My dad eventually took a job as a lawyer. So unlike most families who worked full-time in the church, we didn't struggle financially. We felt chosen by the Messiah and close to his family. We were special.
This self is the one which can directly communicate with God.
I tried to be the perfect daughter. I was an A student, a Sunday school teacher, an aspiring church leader. I wanted to be just like Mom and Dad.
Growing up, there was always this anticipation about the blessing, and I remember seeing other people that I knew going through this process and feeling it was just so holy, and this moment where you are truly blessed and God has finally produced this person that's a match of yours. And so I was really excited about it.
That was the big story, like you were a holy virgin, saving yourself for marriage.
You and I both were super committed to accepting who we got matched to no matter what.
Well, there were all these rumors that I was going to be matched to one of Reverend Moon's sons.
Yeah.
I really took that seriously.
Yeah, well, I think that was part of it. Like, they were up here, like, these ideal people.
And to marry one of them was
something,
like the ultimate.
And so when I was 20 years old, I submitted an 8x10 photograph of myself to get matched by Reverend Moon. I couldn't wait.
This is a box of photos and tapes, Mooney memorabilia. This is my name, hand-drawn by Reverend Moon. It says Boney Jones.
What do you think we need to let people know about him, to be honest?
There definitely was profiteering happening in the name of religion, a lavish lifestyle garnered from the labor of church members. But church members would say, he's the King of Kings. He deserves it.
It's harder to convey the
psychological
hold.
I feel clear that I want to like call bullshit where it's bullshit, and I think the church basically was bullshit. More than the church, there's shame programming from mom and dad. I think a lot of people were hurt, I think myself included, and that shouldn't be glossed over. I specifically remember listening to a speech by Reverend Moon's oldest son, and him saying, "We're gonna line up all the homosexuals, I'm just gonna shoot them." But I never forgot that.
You know, it did feel like life and death sometimes. To go this path is to stay alive, and to not is to essentially die, spiritually anyway.
Reverend Sun Young Moon and his Unification Church had about 150 members in this country just 5 years ago. Well, now it's a multi-million-dollar organization which continues to attract fanatic young followers. All of this, of course, has caused a great deal of controversy about what Moon stands for and how his church operates.
The wealth of the church buys property. Moon, his wife, and their 8 children live in this estate in Tarrytown, New York.
You don't really realize you're getting brainwashed at the time, but you think this is really good, really right, you know, and the rest of the world's screwed up, you know?
The last time I ever witnessed a movement that had these qualifications, a totally monolithic movement with a single point of view and a single authoritarian head, with suspicion of parents, was the Nazi youth movement, and I tell you, I'm scared.
My daughter has been in this organization for 4.5 years, almost 5 years.
Back in the early 70s, people were given a list of people who were the most reviled and hated people. And Moon was either first or second on that list. Everybody knew about Moonies and how they brainwashed. They had these great big mass weddings. There was a growing concern about the movement. These stories that were building up, and there were Moonies everywhere, and they were taking over the world. And if you talk to people at dinner parties or something, they would tell you that they hadn't actually met one, but their cousin had known somebody, and they'd read in the papers how they'd been kidnapped.
Some parents have become so worried about their children that they have resorted to illegal kidnappings and deprogrammings to get them away from what they feel is Moon's brainwashing.
I feel the allegations are unfounded. I really don't feel that I have been subjected to coercive persuasion or brainwashing. I think it's ridiculous.
We would all put on black garbage bags over our heads to leave the center in the morning and come back in the evening so that the deprogrammers couldn't tell which one was their target. I mean, it was very dramatic. People were snatched off the street. Some of them came back and some of them didn't.
He was quite explicit about you've got to sacrifice your family to save the world. From my point of view, How do you save the world if you're sacrificing the people who you're directly responsible for?
So today we're going to interview Mary Larson, who was the woman who, what should I look? Is that you, that way? Or at the camera?
Just look ahead.
Okay. So today we're going to go interview Mary Larson, who was the woman who took care of me when my mom had to go off and do some missionary work for the church. So Mary took care of me from when I was 6 weeks old until about 2.5. So she was a mother of sorts for me. Hey, Mary!
Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, so good to see you.
Yeah, you too, and your bright orange there. It's nice. There was a lot of moms doing these missions. So for 2 years, I was almost like a nanny. Of course, all these moms were smiles, but tears. You know, they wanted to do their mission. And originally, we thought it was only going to be a couple months. I think our average number of children there was around 20 to 25, and usually our staff was between 6 and 8. I just remember they're placing you in my arms. I couldn't even imagine, having to give up such a tiny baby.
And what would you say was maybe the mentality behind, the decisions these mothers were making?
They just want, it was more obedience to the things Father was asking. We'll start in order of age. That was you. In a suitcase, this was the little room we stayed in up at the gatehouse. This must have been Christmas that first year, I would guess. And then we had a small table in that big dining room where all the older kids would sit around. And that's you. Oh, goodness.
I obviously have no memory of that time, and it's just...
Well, you were only 2 years old. I don't know if anybody remembers. They didn't do it because they didn't love you. They felt that by doing this, we can move humanity forward.
I had access to a church-owned car, and I would drive up and visit you and Matthew. You were standing there by yourself in this off-white, full-body snowsuit. There was a sense of aloneness there.
And how often would we see you then?
I didn't come down every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we understood that we were sacrificing for this great transformation that was going to take place.
So I felt this God saying to me, you will leave your daughter for a while, but you will have her back. You will have her back. I really was trying to live the principle, the individual lives for the family lives for the country lives for the nation.
And who's to say that all those sacrifices that we made and imposed on you aren't somehow part of the path? Wasn't fair to you, but it was part of our process, and I can't regret our process. Yeah.
Well, it's something that everybody tries to teach their kids these days, no sex before marriage.
But this time, it's the kids who are preaching abstinence. 2 News' Carrie Birmingham joins us now with more. Sounds like some positive peer pressure.
That's exactly what it is, Michelle. These kids want to change the way people think about casual sex, and they're willing to take to the streets to do it.
For Bo Jones, staying a virgin until he gets married isn't about religion or pressure from his parents.
It's a choice he's made about the way he wants to live his life.
One man, one woman, just hold their whole beings, every part of them, and save it for their commitment in marriage.
At the end of one of these tours in particular, everyone kind of lifted me up on their shoulders at the end of it, like, we did it, and I just felt like such a fraud, you know, being the leader of all these kids. They don't really know who I am. I always knew I was gay, and that if that's not really okay, you know, whether it was the church or mom and dad, that message is like deeply seated in my consciousness. I've kind of been at war with myself for a long time about being gay. My life's like the exact picture of what we imagined our life would be if we went astray, alone and unhappy. I'm 35, and I still feel like I carry a lot of the guilt and shame from childhood with me. So now I'm going home, having smoked myself out of school to failure. And I'm gonna see what I can build from here. I guess the more important question is, how long are you gonna hide? I ended up dropping out of school when I was 23. I was going to school in Boston and just really depressed. And at that point, I was just like realizing, all right, I'm gay, it's not gonna change. But every time I talked to mom and dad, they just thought, they thought I had to go to Cheongpyeong in Korea, which is a place to go to get rid of evil spirits. I decided they're never gonna let this go. If there's a chance, like, they're right, I should give it a shot. I ended up going to Cheongpyeong for 2 40-day workshops. These big halls where everyone's divided, men and women, and you're singing the same song over and over again. And you're doing these kind of slapping of yourself on your head and all over your body to get rid of evil spirits and to invite the angels to guide you instead. And I kind of stood up for myself at that point. I wish I got there a lot sooner. You know, I've thought a lot about the spirit world, and you know, maybe my whole life I have been possessed. One issue that's caused deep conflict and led to my being here deals with my sexuality. I mean, my whole life basically, I haven't had attractions to women, but I have had attractions to men. Felt very hopeless that there's something I could change. I mean, I did like a lot of research and talking to people inside the church and outside the church, and from what I found, most people are unsuccessful in like changing their sexual feelings. Like, I wanted to die basically every day. And I'm still not happy being gay. It's like, yeah, I accept it. It's the card I was dealt. And I don't dread it anymore, or, you know, it's fine. But am I happy? I'm not necessarily happy with it.
I mean, what do you think it would take to be happy being gay?
Be in a happy partnership.
Today is the big day. I'm gonna be freezing my eggs. At times during this week, I've been kind of extra emotional because of the hormones. And just feeling like, why am I doing this alone? And this is not what I envisioned. And, you know, wondering, will there ever be somebody in my life that would be the other half of perhaps these little beings? And, you know, I don't know, but I know that I I want to have that experience of being a mom. No one in my family has ever married outside the church or had a kid outside the church. But I don't want to lose this chance, this window.
No nausea ever. No nausea.
No, not yet.
Okay. You just rest up, okay? You did great.
Oh, hopefully I don't ever have to do this again.
Your dad was big in the church.
Yes. My dad, well, I don't have many memories of him. He would come for like 2 weeks out of the year. And when he was home, absolute silence.
My first language was Korean. My parents went to sell whatever the fuck they were selling at the time, and I was raised at Jacob House by like Korean and Japanese ladies.
Everyone at one point had to learn Korean. You know, if you didn't know Korean, like, good luck kind of getting into the kingdom of heaven, you know? That was kind of the mentality. Like, it was so imperative because the spiritual world was going to speak Korean.
The news was saying this was a brainwashed cult. So when you're a kid growing up with that, and then you live in the town that Reverend Moon lives, I mean, everybody knows about it. And it's hard. I was just scared to go to school every day. All of my effort, I couldn't even focus. Like, all of my effort was into hiding the fact that I was, you know, in this church.
My dad, once you buy into the fact that this dude is the Messiah, my dad's just like me, like a logical thinking, deducting cat, right? Once you swallow that pill that that dude is the Messiah and I'm gonna dedicate my life to this, how the fuck are you gonna turn your back on that? So I dedicated 30 years of my life and now I'm just gonna say, fuck it. I think my dad questions it constantly. But when he questions it, he doubles down on his efforts. It's like a bad poker player. Well, I'm going all in again.
I'm a lesbian, and I knew I was gay like my whole life, like since I was like 8 years old. I knew very clearly that it was not acceptable.
Any girl that came up to me and said hi, I would literally shake. My parents instilled this fear that if you had any relationship with a female, that you'll go to hell.
I think that a lot of kids who want to go to this matching the blessing, they're really just horny kids who want to have sex, you know?
The mentality was, finally. That was my mentality. Finally, I get some.
And then I came out to my parents. It just became more of, how is this possible? You know, because like a blessed child, we don't have original sin, right? So like how could I be gay? Like this, you know, something must have happened to you. Like, that's why you're gay, you know? Oh, it's because you play it's because you're tall.
I'm 34 years old and I've never had like a long-term relationship. It's been tough. Some of these women that I got involved with, I could only take it so far to where, you know, I realized that maybe they're not gonna get me in this like whole story. You know, I think it takes a special person, so yeah, just keep searching, I guess.
I don't think the Moonies are crazy. I think the Moonies are a religion. And I think all religions are fucking crazy. Read Revelations. It's crazier than Harry Potter. Fuck, if they put Voldemort in there, it would be more logical than Revelations. You know what I'm saying? So the Moonies aren't crazy. People who get caught up in mass think, group think religion are crazy.
Reverend Moon, in his early days, would talk about other possible objectives in life.
So
So you and Mom have devoted almost 50 years of your life to the church. The church now is very different than the church you joined then and the vision that you had. How are you still a part of it?
Well, there's no doubt that Reverend Moon has been the most influential person in my life. I remember saying, I feel like I found my father. And I'm sure my physical father loves me very much. But it's to feel it. Maybe around age 10, or my father sat my brother and me down and told us that he was leaving the household. In that bedroom, there was an embedded mirror in the door that led into the bedroom, and I was sitting on a bed. My brother was sitting next to me. As he told us he was leaving the house, I saw myself, my face collapsed into tears. So, it was a profound moment. I knew the suffering that my parents' separation caused me. I was wanting to not repeat that history with any family that I helped create.
Do you think you and Mom would have made it without the church?
No, I would not have made it without the church.
Over here, I got some stuff that I got for Christmas. See, right here is this big thing
Yeah, boy, get out of the light from over here. Yeah, that's
See,
better.
right here is this big thing that my Aunt Marilyn got me. And this is my clock radio. And see, if you want to know how our TV camera looks, it's like this.
And the church's teachings about homosexuality are that it's wrong. How do you feel about being involved in a church that condemns your son in that way?
Well, that's a fair question. I mean, Reverend Moon said some very harsh things about homosexuality. I don't know that I think the second generation has a much broader view of it than the first generation. So I'm counting on an evolving understanding on the part of the church. I still find enough in the church that I value, not in the church, but in the teachings. In the teachings. I'm not talking about the institution, I'm talking about the teachings and Reverend Moon emphasis on true love is for me a core teaching, and I think long term that is going to be understood to be able to embrace the diversity of peoples, including homosexuals.
Welcome to the movies. Church. Movies. Church. Yeah.
The divine principle is occurring to me differently as I'm growing older and older. As a 45-year-old man opposed to a 25-year-old man, the whole divine principle is like a cornflakes commercial. Try it again for the first time.
Tonight was really wonderful. It's like we have a home in this place, like we belong. It definitely stirred up a little bit of shame and a little bit of doubt. Maybe I could have been with a woman. My life would be easier if I could just marry a woman. Maybe I'm not really gay. Yeah, but the church does that every time I'm in like a church environment.
Do you feel nervous at all, Bo?
No.
I always get a little nervous going back into these environments.
How many people feel challenged by the idea of matching our kids? This is a time of tremendous challenge and transition in our movement. Father's ascension, challenges in the true family, questions about where our faith is going, where our movement is going, where our church is going. What do I stand for? What did I learn? What did true parents teach me? What are the eternals? And certainly matching and blessing is at the core of that.
Reverend Moon, before he passed away, changed the process of his matching as well. And that was, he let the young people know, I am no longer going to be the person that tells you the best suggestion for your marriage. He indicated that on the foundation of everything he'd done, he was passing on that responsibility to parents.
She likes to play the piano and gardening, reading, traveling, into politics and history.
When I walked past that line of photos, there was a second where I was like, oh, but there was no one older than 29 there, I think, or maybe 30 at most. I mean, there was a time when I'd really hoped that I could find someone in the church, and it was like from the core of my being, I really wanted to make that work, and it would have been easier. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. My whole life I had anticipated this moment when I would get matched by Reverend Moon, and prepared myself as I was taught to by not dating or drinking or doing anything wrong per se. I remember seeing my parents and like wanting to be really excited, like, this is my wedding day. Outside of this Olympic stadium in Seoul, Korea. And we went out, and it was raining, and we went into the stadium of 10,000 people, and I was wearing the same wedding dress as a lot of the other women. I just felt like I wasn't myself, and I was just almost like a robot going through this process. We shouted our commitment with all these people to love each other forever, and it was a total act of faith on my part, because my heart was not there. But I never told anyone how I really felt.
Thank you, Dad. Sir, thank you very much. Oh, wait a minute, sir. Can't be sure about any of it.
Anniversary this year, really without their love and example of faith and love. I don't know where I'd be. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank my parents.
So we feel very blessed to have family and friends like each of you. So I'd like to thank God for this gathering and for each of you. Thank you very much.
It was no accident.
My older brother and his wife were married at the same time that we were. And while they would go on to have a great marriage and 6 beautiful children, my marriage felt nothing like I imagined it would. He felt like a younger brother to me. Up until this moment in my life, everything about the church had made sense. But this didn't. I went back to school at Princeton, and I saw my new husband every few weeks for an uncomfortable few years. But at this point, it wasn't just my match that I had started to question.
The Moon family is anything but the ideal one that Reverend Moon claims it to be.
his alleged extramarital affairs, a child allegedly born out of wedlock, not to mention his conviction for income tax fraud.
News was coming out about Reverend Moon's infidelity and one of his sons abusing his wife and drugs. I felt like all my beliefs about the church and the Moons were starting to come apart. I stopped going to church.
You got it? It's getting really high. Whoa.
Take the shirts off.
My husband was off doing mission work, and I started partying like everyone else in college. And I cheated on him.
I was worried about the fact that you had no experience socially with dating, you had no experience with drinking, you had no experience just being social in environments that weren't church-related.
We had this like idyllic mirage until your marriage started falling apart. That was the first shoe that dropped, like, boom, reality.
You wanted to please mom and dad, and you were probably afraid that if you were to break that marriage, that would mean that they wouldn't love you. They were in the living room saying, like, hey, this is our daughter's spiritual life at issue here. We need to go do something about this now. Like, so they just got in the car and drove down to Princeton to confront Cara.
She and Dad showed up at my dorm and said that they were here to ask me to drop out. Mom and I started yelling at each other, and she like flew across the room and hit me. I had never been hit before. I felt like they were choosing the church over me.
But I stayed in school, and a few years later, I got divorced. It felt like losing my community and my family, all at the same time.
Right now we're in Seoul, Korea. We're gonna talk to these young couples. They're in their early 20s about what it was like to get matched and how they got matched. A few years ago, I saw some video of some young people going through the ceremony, and I was really triggered by it because it was sort of painting this picture of this glorious experience, and I just remember feeling like that wasn't the way it was for me. And I think now that I'm on my own path, I feel a little better about going to this ceremony. I don't think it'll be triggering.
So what do you think, getting blessed to a guy like me?
You asked that so much.
So? I always want to know if, you know, I'm everything that you've ever wanted.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah?
I already decided when I was young, like maybe about 8, 9 years old, that I wanted to get matched and blessed, like, within the church. The matching process started when I first approached him. He really impressed me a lot because he had a lot of respect for first generation, and I didn't see that a whole lot with a lot of second generation. You have to look at your feet still.
Just do the same thing over and over, okay? And when Naria told me her feeling for me, I felt that I myself did not have the highest standard, but I can go to my parents. Their parents talk to each other a little bit, and then we talk to each other over Skype for 6 hours a night and 7,000 texts first week or something. I wanted Naria to be able to dance, even though she's not very good. But
Well, that's due because I've never learned how, so.
Yeah. But also, you've never danced with anyone, have you?
No.
We started holding hands pretty much from day one. Our parents are really encouraging us to keep our purity and, you know, not...
A certain standard of, like, not touching in some ways, so that's why I wanted to, like, kind of hold back on a lot of things, like kissing.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna hold you, and you're gonna go like this on my arms with the ring in your hand.
You're gonna hold me in your arms,
Yeah.
and I'm going to
And you're gonna put the ring on your hand, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So wait, does yours have a little diamond in it?
Yeah.
They all do?
I like it. Yeah, it's a good size.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Feels good.
It's happening.
It's happening. Yeah,
It's
I feel
happening.
okay. I feel good. Yeah.
Less than, I guess, just over 12 hours from now.
Nowadays, a lot of couples are on the Matchbook website, so you can post your own profile of your info, and then parents can sort of look it over and decide if they want to introduce their kids to each other. So, when my dad approached me and asked if I was interested, I said yes.
Yes, to
Shot her an
getting
email.
to know each other.
Getting to know each other.
It wasn't a, hey, here's this person, marry them. And it's like, yes, no, that's not how it is at all.
I think a lot of the couples here are actually genuinely happy, and I just remember trying to be really happy but not feeling that inside. So it stirs up those memories being here.
I mean, we're like halfway through this wedding ceremony and a few surprises. One, I don't know, my dad would be called up to be on stage. It's just interesting being here as a bit of an outsider and then seeing my dad so much integrated in it.
I think I'm feeling really exhausted by this whole process, and it was hard to see my dad on stage. I love my dad. I have so much respect for him, and I feel like happy that he's recognized in this way for something that he's dedicated his whole life to, but kind of sad that I don't believe in the church in the way that he does. And it was so stark to see him standing up there, like, that's my dad.
Hello. Hi, Cara. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, welcome.
We say a prayer.
Gracious God, we are grateful for this day. We know we are blessed by having a chance to nourish our bodies with this good food.
When I first told you about this documentary, what was your initial reaction / fear about it?
You know, we're church members, and it wouldn't be something we would feel good about if a member of our family went out and presented a very negative take on something that we believe in and have given a lot of our lives to.
What kind of fears have you had about it, Mom?
Well, that I should pack up and head for the hills. I would probably be one of the villains of the story.
I don't know what. I don't think you know the ultimate outcome of this film, how it's going to finally come together, and we certainly don't. But I think our support of you in doing it is unequivocal, no matter what the outcome. And our relationship with you, more important than our relationship with the church.
I love this picture. We were sitting in the backyard of a home that we lived on church property, and it was just a wonderful time, I remember.
That's
that
all.
time.
Christmases.
Mm-hmm.
We have had a difficult journey. What is your perspective now on that early time of leaving?
It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was a tough call that I was getting that I should go. I said to God, okay, I got it. I'll do it. And I'll offer this little girl this time with her. My hope for you always was Cara's future is going to be very blessed from here. So I think my hopes for that were probably more sky high than most people, because I needed it to be that way. I never knew that parenting comes down to being unconditional. And it just took me longer because of that early experience, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, honey. I could have saved you a lot of pain. So please forgive me. I couldn't be the mother you needed.
Do you remember when I was a kid holding your hand on the side of the road?
Yes, very well. We were standing on the side of the road, waiting to cross, and you suddenly burst out, running across the road. And
there was a truck coming.
Yeah, I recall a truck too.
Oh, I remember standing there holding your hand and saying, you know, let go, and you said, okay, as long as you stay here. I mean, I couldn't have been more than 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I come back to that story often as like a metaphor of impulse to leave the family and the danger present by leaving, the fear of leaving.
Okay. Okay.
I think I've lived with that fear of losing you, but it feels important for me to walk to that other side and know that I'm going to be okay. And we can find a different way to love each other, maybe more honestly than we were before.
give it up for Cara Jones. Cara.
It's almost 20 years after that first wedding when I step into this oyster-colored, lace-fitting wedding dress I picked out for myself. And I'm walking down an aisle towards a man of my choosing. I keep walking until the end of that aisle. And to this life and this love, I can finally, in my own words this time, say yes. 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 Thank you.
Cara's always been someone I could talk to. Times when I can talk to anybody else. I admire Cara's commitment to always handling life's curveballs. She doesn't numb out the pain. She feels it. She learns from it, and she writes an article about it and shares it with the world.
So how does one leave a cult? Especially when that cult is your family. The truth for me is that even though I had to leave, I could also stay.
Well, before we get the tour, we wanted to share that we're pregnant.
All right!